Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Randy Orton, Edge. What do these four superstars have in common? Is it that they're four Mount Rushmore superstars in the WWE? Is it that they've held the most world titles in the company? No, it's just the starting four of the 2007 Royal Rumble. Today, we're going to be ranking every Final Four from 1988 all the way to 2025. And the way we're going to be ranking this is if the Final Four had a fatal four-way match, would the match be WrestleMania main event worthy, or would it belong all the way down in NXT? Kicking things off with the Ruthless Aggression era, we have the 2007 Royal Rumble. And yes, we have Shawn Michaels, Randy Orton, Edge, and Undertaker. I mean, come on now. Tell me that's not a Mount Rushmore in itself. These superstars individually have main evented WrestleMania against each other, and I don't think this match will be any different. This is immediately the first Final Four in the WrestleMania main event here. Now on to 2008, we have another Mount Rushmore lineup in John Cena, Triple H, Batista, and Kane. Come on now, is that not the most insane lineup of a match you could imagine? But let's talk fatal four-way. Are we getting that WrestleMania main event caliber match? I feel like the only superstar letting it down is Kane, and it does pay me to say that because Kane is an insane WWE superstar, but I think out of all of them we have three absolute main event names, and then we have Kane. But you know what, screw it, I'm still putting that in the WrestleMania main event tier. I think we, regardless of talking four incredible superstars, and I absolutely would want to see that match in a WrestleMania main event. On to 2009, we do drop off a little bit. We have Randy Orton, Triple H, Cody Rhodes, and Ted DiBiase Jr. I mean, the first two in Randy Orton and Triple H, top tier, WrestleMania main event. But we're talking Ted DiBiase Jr. and Cody Rhodes in 2009. Like, I don't know if you guys know how much of like mid-card superstars Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase were at this time. Absolutely not WrestleMania main event worthy by any means. And for that reason, I think I have to put that match in the regular pay-per-view match category. 2010, however, we are back with John Cena, Edge, Batista, and Shawn Michaels. Yet again, an absolute Mount Rushmore setup. There's nothing bad to say about this. I feel like from once you've got a John Cena, a Shawn Michaels, an Edge, come on now, WrestleMania main event. Okay, we may have dropped off yet again with the 2011 Final Four. We have Alberto Del Rio, Santino Marella, Randy Orton, and Wade Barrett. We're talking about Randy Orton accompanied by three jobbers. I mean, okay, Alberto Del Rio was a world champ at that time, but do I really care about him in a WrestleMania main event? This, honestly, I'm really stuck between putting this in SmackDown or Raw or even NXT, because this match I could not care about in the slightest. And for that reason, this is going to be the first match that actually makes it all the way down to NXT. And 2012 is not much better. We have Sheamus, Chris Jericho, Randy Orton, and Big Show. I mean, individually, we're not talking about four terrible superstars like we got in 2011, obviously besides Randy Orton. But do we have a main event caliber set of superstars in 2012 Big Show, in 2012 Chris Jericho, even in 2012 Sheamus? I'm interested, but just not as interested as I am with some of these other matches where it's just straight Mount Rushmore superstars. And for that reason, I'm going to put the 2012 Final Four in the regular pay-per-view main event. And 2013 is not much better. We have John Cena, Ryback, Sheamus, and Dolph Ziggler. I have love for Dolph Ziggler. I have love for Sheamus. I have love for John Cena. I don't know how one man can do such damage to a fatal four-way match, but just Ryback alone has already brought this down like 3-4 tiers for me in my head. And again, like, I love Dolph Ziggler, but just not quite a WrestleMania main eventer, especially at that time. Likewise with Sheamus, the only real name, the only real draw I feel we have in that year is John Cena. And for that reason, I'm actually going to put the 2013 Royal Rumble down to a regular SmackDown or Raw. I just really couldn't care for that match on a pay-per-view. And for the Final Four in the PG era, we have the 2014 Final Four in Batista, Roman Reigns, Sheamus, and CM Punk. Now, I have two things to say about this Final Four, because on one hand, we are talking about a Final Four that got absolutely slated at the time. Absolutely no one wanted this outcome. No one wanted to see Batista. No one wanted to see Roman Reigns. Overall at the time, it was just a huge shambles. However, if we are exclusively talking about this match as a fatal four-way, taking away the actual history of that Royal Rumble and just looking at the superstars for who they actually are, we're talking about Batista, we're talking about Roman Reigns, and we're talking about CM Punk. Farouk. I feel like in a lot of these, Sheamus has been a bit of the outlier in that I don't really view him as a main eventer, as a pay-per-view main eventer. But I'm happy to put the 2014 Final Four in the regular pay-per-view match tier. Now, we're actually going to be taking it back to the Attitude Era, starting off with 1997 Final Four, consisting of Steve Austin, Bret Hart, Fake Diesel, and The Undertaker. Let's address the elephant in the room. We have Fake Diesel, not real Diesel, Fake Diesel. If it were real Diesel, we have a top caliber fatal four-way match here, but we're not talking about the real Diesel. We're talking about the Fake Diesel. However, I still have to show love to Steve Austin, Bret Hart, and Undertaker. I mean, I've mentioned the phrase Mount Rushmore so much in this video, but Bret Hart, Steve Austin, and Undertaker alone might legitimately be the actual Mount Rushmore. But taking Fake Diesel into account for this match, I think we have a regular pay-per-view main event. On to 1998, we keep the Steve Austin theme going, of course, back-to-back wins from Steve Austin, which is pretty insane no matter what year it is. We have Steve Austin, The Rock, Farouk, and Dude Love. Now, personally, I've never been particularly interested in Farouk. I don't think he is a WrestleMania main eventer by any means. Similarly with Dude Love, and it's actually quite an interesting one because if we're talking Mankind, if we're talking Mick Foley, then I think we are entering that WrestleMania main event caliber of superstar. But for some reason, Dude Love is just the weak link of that trifecta, and I think overall the Farouk and Dude Love absolutely bring this Final Four down tremendously. But of course, we have to acknowledge Steve Austin and The Rock, two absolute legends. But given it's a 50-50 split between two legends and two superstars I couldn't really care about that much, I'm going to put the 1998 Royal Rumble in the regular pay-per-view match tier. On to the 1999 Royal Rumble, a Royal Rumble that for many obvious reasons is not spoken about very much by the WWE, and that is of course the year that Vince McMahon won, along with Steve Austin, Big Boss Man, and D'Lo Brown in the Final Four. I really feel like Steve Austin is saving a lot of these Final Fours because when I'm looking at these four names, I'm not really seeing much. D'Lo Brown, absolutely could not care less about him. Vince McMahon, I mean, a good heel at the time, but come on now, it's Vince McMahon. And then of course, Big Boss Man. I think Steve Austin would absolutely carry the star power of this match. I think if it was on a WrestleMania poster, I don't think anyone would want to go. For that reason, I'm going to put the 1999 Final Four down to the SmackDown Raw tier. For the year 2000, we have a very interesting Final Four. We have The Rock, Big Show, X-Pac, and Kane. I have a lot of love for X-Pac, and I think X-Pac was an incredible superstar. And you know what, correct me if I'm wrong, I think X-Pac and Kane might have been tag team champions at this point. As for The Rock, of course, main event superstar, particularly in, 2000, 1999, 1998. As for Big Show, I've never really viewed Big Show as a main event superstar. I think he's cool, but like overall, just the character of Big Show doesn't really engage me besides him being a giant. And similarly with X-Pac and Kane, like they're great, they're entertaining superstars, but are they, your top four guys like an Edge, Randy Orton, Shawn Michaels, John Cena? I'm just not sure we're getting that vibe from this match. And with that being said, I'm going to put the 2000 Royal Rumble down to the regular pay-per-view match tier. Now on to 2001, we're talking Steve Austin's third Royal Rumble win in this short window of time, which I mean, it's probably been 5 or 6 years, and Steve Austin has won 3 of the Royal Rumbles. And we're actually sticking to the Steve Austin and Rock theme in this Final Four, along with Kane and Billy Gunn. Again, Kane and Billy Gunn being the black sheeps of this Final Four, particularly Billy Gunn. I have never seen the appeal to Billy Gunn, and I don't think Billy Gunn would enhance this match in any way, shape, or form. As for like a triple threat match between Steve Austin, Kane, and The Rock, I think that is incredible, and maybe even WrestleMania main event here in itself. But if we're including Billy Gunn in this mix, I'll go regular pay-per-view main event, honestly. And finally, for the Attitude Era, we have the 2002 Final Four, and we have Triple H, Kurt Angle, Mr. Perfect, and Steve Austin. If that does not sound like a main event, and not only a main event, if that does not sound like a WrestleMania main event to you, then I don't know what is. We're putting the 2002 Final Four straight up to the WrestleMania main event here. Now, taking it to the heart of the Ruthless Aggression era, we have the 2003 Final Four, a match man, is this one stacked. We have Brock Lesnar, we have Undertaker, we have Kane, and we have Batista. I have no critiques on this final four. Despite what I've kind of said about Kane, I think Kane has kind of been the weak link in these final fours. Despite being an amazing superstar, I think Kane is the only one out of these who hasn't been a WrestleMania main eventer. But with all of that being said, I really would struggle to not put this Fatal 4-Way match as a WrestleMania main event. We have the year Chris Benoit won the Royal Rumble, and that is none other than the 2004 Final Four of the Royal Rumble. We have Chris Benoit, we have Big Show, we have Kurt Angle, and we have Chris Jericho. And this feels similar to the Vince McMahon thing. This is not really a Final Four or a Royal Rumble in general that's really discussed anymore for obvious reasons. However, we will be discussing this as a Final Four and nothing more than that. We have arguably, I would say, 3, if not 2 WrestleMania main eventers in Chris Benoit and Kurt Angle. I think Big Show and Chris Jericho. Jericho was big at the time. I'll definitely give extra points to Jericho in the year of 2004. As for Big Show, I feel like he is really ruining some of these Final Fours for me. I just have never seen him as that top guy that, WWE have pushed him as. And taking all of that into account, I think I'm happy to put this at a regular pay-per-view main event. 05, I feel like we're getting back to that Mount Rushmore category. We have John Cena, Edge, Rey Mysterio, and Batista. I feel also, for me personally, this is the peak of the superstars when I was growing up, so I hope to not have too much of a bias here towards them. But I think arguably, to any wrestling fan of any era, I think we're talking about 4 of the best superstars, particularly at the time. 4 superstars who absolutely can and have main evented WrestleMania, and I think it's very simple for me to put this Fatal 4-Way match in the WrestleMania main event here. And finally, for the Ruthless Aggression era, we have the 2006 Final Four in Rey Mysterio, Randy Orton, Triple H, and Rob Van Dam. I like the sound of this very much. If I were to pick a weak link in this, I think it would definitely have to be Rob Van Dam, although, RVD is very much the GOAT. I adore RVD in ring. I think he is an incredible superstar, and I don't think it's a crazy thing to say that this match may also be a WrestleMania main event caliber match. Taking things back all the way to the Golden Era and the very first Royal Rumble, we have the 1988 Final Four in Jim Duggan, One Man Gang, Dino Bravo, and Don Morocco. And I feel like these first 2 or 3 in the Golden Era I may be unfair on, but when I'm hearing that lineup of superstars, I don't feel anything, and for that reason, I'm gonna have to just put that in the SmackDown and Raw tier. Moving on to the 89 Final Four, we have Big John Studd as the winner with Ted DiBiase, Akeem, and Rick Martel. Certainly a big Ted DiBiase fan, likewise Big John Studd, but I just really am not getting any star power from these initial Royal Rumbles. Maybe that is because I wasn't born in 1950, but I really just don't see star power in these early Rumbles. And again, I feel like I can only put this Final Four down into the SmackDown Raw tier. However, with the 1990 Final Four, I think things will be changing. We have Hulk Hogan, Mr. Perfect, Rick Rude, and Hercules. I think this is definitely a more stacked lineup than the previous 2. Whilst I still don't think we're in that WrestleMania main event category yet, I think I certainly would see this main event a regular pay-per-view for sure. 1991, we have Hulk Hogan, Earthquake, Brian Knobbs, and British Bulldog. I think we're going to see Hulk Hogan as the strong link of all of these. I think every era has kind of had a strong link so far. The previous ones being a Steve Austin, a John Cena. This is very much Hulk Hogan's era, and I'm not particularly interested in an Earthquake, in a Brian Knobbs. Sure, we'll take a British Bulldog, but I'm going to put this at the regular pay-per-view match tier. 1992, I feel like things do pick up here. We have Ric Flair, Sid Justice, Hulk Hogan, and Randy Savage. A pretty stacked lineup, especially compared to the previous few, in my opinion. I think we've got some pretty big names. Of course, Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage. I like Sid Justice, but I don't think he's quite on the level of the prior 3. And for that reason, I'm going to put the 1992 Final Four in the regular pay-per-view main event here. And finally, for the Golden Era, we have the 1993 Final Four in Yokozuna, Randy Savage, Bob Backlund, and Rick Martel. I think this is incredibly weak, if I'm being honest. Yokozuna's a great guy, but I feel like he's never been a top guy for me, as in a WrestleMania main event caliber superstar. And overall, this Final Four just feels very lackluster to me. And for that reason, I'm going to put the 1993 Final Four down to the SmackDown Raw tier. On to the New Gen Era, and we have the 1994 Royal Rumble Final Four in Bret Hart and Lex Luger, Shawn Michaels, Fatu. And this, of course, was the year we had the joint winners of Bret Hart, Lex Luger, and they were accompanied by Shawn Michaels and Fatu. And I think it's cool. I don't think Fatu belongs up there. I don't really care for Lex Luger either, but I do appreciate Lex Luger as a main event caliber superstar. Of course, Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels to me will always be the GOAT, so very much bumping up the value of this fatal 4-way match for me. And overall, I think if we combine the two big superstars with the two that I probably would care about less, I think we can make a good argument for this match being a regular pay-per-view main event. 1995, we have Shawn Michaels, British Bulldog, Crush, and Lex Luger. A very weak lineup in my opinion. I think besides Shawn Michaels, I just really couldn't care about this match as a fatal 4-way, and I really don't want to do this, but I might have to send the 1995 Final 4 down to NXT with the 2011 Final 4. And finally, for the new gen era, we have the 1996 Royal Rumble, Shawn Michaels, Diesel, Karma, and British Bulldog. Shawn Michaels carries. Shawn Michaels low-key clears this entire lineup. Diesel, Karma, British Bulldog, just really not doing it for me. And I don't know what it is about this era, but I feel like this generation of like main event superstars, besides your Shawn Michaels, you know, besides your Steve Austin, I just don't really care a whole lot for some of these names. At the time, I appreciate the heat that a lot of these superstars had, and they are the top superstars of their respective eras. So I can put the 1996 Final 4 in the regular pay-per-view main event here. Now, we are at the new era. We are in the now, and we are about to tackle 2015 all the way up to 2025. And man, 2015 to start things off is very disappointing. We have Roman Reigns, Rusev, Big Show, and Kane. Roman Reigns is the only name at that point that even remotely means anything. 2015 Rusev, 2015 Big Show, 2015 Kane honestly don't mean a whole lot. And whilst you can make an argument that Rusev Day was quite good, did we really want to see Rusev Day main event WrestleMania? Absolutely not. I'm sending this Final 4 to NXT. 2016, we have Triple H, Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns, and Sheamus, with of course Triple H winning the WWE title in this Royal Rumble. I don't hate what I see, but I don't love what I see either. And we've also got to bear in mind at this time, no one really cared for Triple H, no one really cared for Roman Reigns, no one really cared for Sheamus. This was kind of an irrelevant bunch at the time, and I think maybe in the individual primes we have a pay-per-view main event, but at the given time, I think the 2016 Final 4 is simply a regular pay-per-view match. 2017, we have Roman Reigns, Randy Orton, Bray Wyatt, and Chris Jericho, with of course Randy Orton winning the 2017 Royal Rumble to go on to face Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania. As for this Final 4 in a fatal 4-way match, we're talking Chris Jericho way past his prime, Bray Wyatt very hot at this point, Randy Orton, I mean, he was doing his thing, and then of course Roman Reigns, absolutely hated by the WWE universe, but that's not to say he's not a main event caliber superstar. I'm happy to put this match in the regular pay-per-view match tier. 2018, we have Shinsuke Nakamura, Roman Reigns, John Cena, and Finn Balor. It feels a little bit mid-card to me. Of course we're talking Roman Reigns, of course we're talking John Cena, but Shinsuke Nakamura, I love Shinsuke Nakamura, and likewise with Finn Balor, I love them both equally, but Shinsuke Nakamura, as much as I love Shinsuke, especially 2018 Shinsuke, I just don't think we're quite getting that main event caliber material from Shinsuke Nakamura. And I think overall, if we're saying Shinsuke Nakamura versus Roman Reigns versus John Cena versus Finn Balor in a fatal 4-way match, I'm also going to put this in the regular pay-per-view match tier. 2019, we have Seth Rollins, Braun Strowman, Dolph Ziggler, and Andrade. What the hell is Andrade doing in this Final 4? Likewise with Dolph Ziggler, like, I'm not mad at Dolph Ziggler being here. What are Dolph Ziggler and Andrade doing in this Final 4? And again, let's not forget Braun Strowman. Is he really up there? Is he really with the likes of, you know, some of the top guys? I'm really gonna have to put this down to the SmackDown and Raw tier. I just cannot see this being an interesting fatal 4-way match in any universe. By the way, if you love Royal Rumbles as much as I love Royal Rumbles, make sure to smash that subscribe button, smash that like button, as I am trying to hit 1,000 subscribers here on YouTube. And let's continue with the 2020 Royal Rumble. And with the 2020 Final 4, we have Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns, Edge, and Randy Orton. And honestly, I think things are getting good again. The only thing that is putting me off putting this right at the top is we're talking 2020 Drew McIntyre, and 2020 Drew McIntyre is not 2025 Drew McIntyre. I think he is insanely good now compared to where he was at in 2020. But still, of course, we're talking world champion Drew McIntyre. And honestly, I would have to put this as a fatal 4-way match in the WrestleMania main event here. 2021, we have Edge yet again winning the Royal Rumble this time, however, and Randy Orton, Seth Rollins, and Braun Strowman. Let's get Braun Strowman out of this mix before we even start talking about this. I don't know how Braun Strowman has slithered his way into all of these Final Fours, but it needed to be stopped, and I am happy that it did stop in 2021. Besides Braun Strowman, I think we're talking an absolute WrestleMania main event, but Braun Strowman did unfortunately have to come along and ruin it, and for that reason, I'll be putting the 2021 Final Four in the regular pay-per-view main event here. 2022, we have Brock Lesnar, Drew McIntyre, Shane McMahon, and Matt Riddle. That is a dookie Final Four, and I'm going to have to send that Final Four straight down to NXT. For the 2023 Final Four, we have Cody Rhodes, Gunther, Seth Rollins, and Logan Paul. And as much as I have very, very high praise for Logan Paul, I can't really put him in my dream fatal 4-way match or any sort of Mount Rushmore list by any means. So I think Logan Paul absolutely would cost this match. As much as I love Cody Rhodes and Gunther, they're not superstars that particularly get me excited. And I feel like Seth Rollins is the only name in there that I would put in one of my dream fatal 4-way matches. So with that all being said, I'm going to just put this in a regular pay-per-view match tier. In the 2024 Final Four, we saw Cody Rhodes, Gunther, CM Punk, and Drew McIntyre. And I remember how hot this Final Four was at the time. But that is not to say this would make a good fatal 4-way match. I'm just saying at the time the storylines were good. But would this be a good match? I really don't think it would be. Like I said, I'm not really invested in Rhodes and Gunther heavily. I think McIntyre is great. I think CM Punk is great. I'm gonna just have to put this at the regular pay-per-view main event here. And finally, we have the moment of truth. Where does the 2025 Final Four rank among all of these other Final Fours? And we have Jey Uso, John Cena, Logan Paul, and CM Punk. I mean, is Jey Uso we're talking about? Is Logan Paul we're talking about? Is this a main event caliber match? Are these particularly superstars I would class as top tier talent? I'm just really not sure. As much as, like I said, I praise Logan Paul, I praise Jey Uso, but do I really want them in a fatal 4-way match main eventing WrestleMania? Absolutely not. And to be honest, I'm not even quite sure if I would want this as a regular pay-per-view main event. I'm gonna put this down in the regular pay-per-view match, honestly. And with that, we complete our rankings of every Final Four in the history of the Royal Rumble. And man, hopefully it only gets better from here. Let me know in the comments who you think is going to make it to the Final Four in this year's 2026 Royal Rumble match. And make sure, as always, to like and subscribe and check out one of these videos next.